Okay, so good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us in this open forum session on the enhancing the role of the Internet Governance Forum through Global Digital Compact Forum and with this plus training review processes. So my name is Yoichi Ida, the former Assistant Vice Minister at the Japanese Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications. And we have excellent 5 speakers on my side, 4 on next to me, and the 1 online. So thank you very much to all the panelists for joining me in this session. And let me introduce quickly 5 speakers. First, we have Miss Marit Parovilta, if I pronounce correctly, and Deputy Director General at Connect Europe. And second, we have Mr. Murilo Salvador from Youth IGF. Thank you very much. And next, we have Mr. William Lee from the Australian government working at the infrastructure, transport, regional development, and communications, sport, and the art ministry. You have a lot of work. And then we have also the government of Germany, Mr. Philipp Schulte, from Ministry for Digital Transformation and Government Modernization of Germany. Very welcome. And last but of course at least, we have Ms. Gitanjali Sa, the Strategy and Policy Coordinator from ITU Online. Okay, so let me quickly jump into the content of the session. As many of you recognize, we have a very impactful discussion on internet governance over the last few years. We saw a Global Digital Compact agreed last September in the sideline of the UN General Assembly. And now we are in the middle of the follow-up process. And many of you saw and remember the articulation of the importance of IGF in the Global Compact. And just like me, I hope many of you are more or less satisfied with the articulation, but we still have a lot to do during the process coming to come in the next month. We will have the WSIS Plus 20 review process quickly, and we had the first preparatory meeting at the end of May in New York, and only last week we had the element paper coming up on the website, and we are now in the process of analyzing the elements. We will have 0 draft in August, and we will have the second preparatory meeting in mid-October. And then the UN provide information that we will have the first draft outcome document in November, which needs to be negotiated to reach the final consensus in a high-level meeting on the sideline of General Assembly in the middle of December this year. So we have a very important process to come in front of us, and today I want to discuss how we can make our IGF even stronger and more robust through this negotiation, and what would be the point, what would be the priorities for us, and in particular from the viewpoint of different stakeholders, and then how we can achieve those priorities. That is the major points of this session. So without further ado, I would like to ask a question to individual panelists. So the first question, having looked at the progresses over the last 1 or 2 years, what are your priorities or targets in the coming WSIS Plus 20 review and global digital compact follow-up process? So I would like to first invite Mr. William Lee. Your government issued non-paper, and what are the major points in the paper, and what do you think you Australian government wants to achieve?
Thank you, and thank you very much for having me. My name is William Lee. I'm the WSIS Plus 20 policy lead for the Australian Government's Department of Infrastructure and Communications and many other things. As you mentioned, Australia only recently published a non-paper on the WSIS Plus 20 process, which sets out some of our objectives and some of the ideas that we think might be worthy of consideration and conversation. What I will say at the start is that we have put this out as a conversation starter. It's not necessarily where we think the final outcome will be, and it's not necessarily the final outcome that our government will support. But what we have tried to do is understand what different parts of the global community see as important, and taken through the evidence that exists, what are some of the ideas that could come forward. I think it's probably prudent to start on the question of the Internet Governance Forum, given we are here in Norway at the moment. And I think one of the key things for us is to secure the long-term future of the IGF, both in terms of its function, its mandate, but also the resourcing that it needs to deliver. One of the key things that we hear time and time again is the question of inclusivity, and how do we bring the tens or thousands of people, the hundreds of thousands of people that are interested in digital issues together. It's obviously not practical that everyone comes to the global IGF, but what we have seen through the WSIS process over the last 20 years is some really, really strong national and regional initiatives emerge, youth IGFs emerge, other processes emerge. And one of the things that we would like to see is a conversation about how we start a cycle of conversation between the global IGF and these national and regional initiatives, so that all voices can be heard at all levels of the conversation and nothing is lost in those processes. We would love to see as many people as possible at the global IGF from as many different regions and stakeholders as possible. And while we have some ideas about how we may be able to raise money to better support those that need it to be able to participate in some of these conversations, we also recognize that there is a need to connect those conversations together so that no matter the resources and capability of each stakeholder, we make sure that those voices are not lost in the process. I think other elements that are really important for us, cultural and linguistic diversity, I think really valuable. I think dealing with the online environment that we now face, really challenging, but I think really important. How do we provide a safe online environment? How do we address the questions around digital platforms? How do we strengthen information integrity online? I think the question of youth empowerment and engagement is really central. I think youth is the future of this digital world, and they are delivering things that we would never have thought possible. But how do we connect their voice at every stage of that conversation? How do we innovate? How do we encourage entrepreneurs? How do we support small and medium businesses engage with their online world? of course, universal and meaningful connectivity is really, really important. There is still a third of the world offline. That is mostly a usage gap rather than a coverage gap. And it's a question of how do we connect some of those ideas, and we've explored some of the ways to do that. And then finally, how do we really monitor and evaluate the work that we're putting in? I don't think it's any secret to say that the UN system and the global environment and governments ourselves are facing increasing budgetary and other challenges. So every dollar and cent that goes into supporting our digital environment, whether that's from the private sector, the technical community, civil society groups, academia, governments, how do we make sure all of those initiatives are driving towards outcomes that we want to achieve? And finally, one of the things that I will say in the non-paper that we have presented is this idea of communities of practice. And the purpose behind that is really that question of how do we focus energy and effort from all parts of the community into problems that we know exist, challenges that we know are being articulated, and digital gaps or digital divides that need to be closed and bridged. And so one of the ways we think we can do that is through bringing together stakeholders around particular topics and issues for a time-limited period to really focus in on particular issues and drive outcomes forward. And the IGF as an institution is a really valuable way to bring all of those conversations together. I'll pause there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, William, for this very much comprehensive comment, and also the stress on the inclusivity and also diversity, which are two of the most important elements the IGF is realizing in this formulation. So thank you very much for the comment. And now I would like to turn to Mr. Philip Schulte to talk about the viewpoint from probably European perspective. We have the kind of agreement on the informal multi-stakeholder sounding board, and maybe that concept is also very important in your comment.
Yes, thank you, Luigi. Thank you for having me. And also congratulations to Australia for this excellent non-paper. First people already were quoting the paper to me, so I think that's already a success here. Congratulations. And indeed, as the Australia and other UN member states were thinking about the process, I mean, way ahead already before the Elements paper, which was published last Friday, came to us. The EU will negotiate as a whole, as a bloc in the UN system, was finding common positions already, like in the last month, and was also trying to come up with a positive approach and bringing some ideas in it. And indeed, the sounding board was a non-paper by the EU and its member states, and we are really pleased to say that to see that the co-facilitator took up the idea. And I mean, it's not one-to-one translated, but I mean, it also was only a discussion paper from us. But we are really pleased to see that they took up the idea and have started a call for application for MAC members, and then like of the current MAC and the leadership panel, and I think 10 members of the current MAC and the leadership panel will be in the sounding board, and it's completely informal. It's not institutionalized, so it's not a heavy bureaucracy, but it's one mean for the co-facilitators to have some to test some ideas, to exchange views, since being a co-facilitator can be a heavy burden. It's a lot of work for the delegations in New York, so I think that's might be a helpful tool to support the co-facilitators. Then on the original question on priorities, I mean, I totally agree what William said. that are also, a lot of them are also priorities of German government, but also of the European Union. Indeed, a key priority, and that doesn't come as a surprise to you, will be the Internet Governance Forum and a meaningful stakeholder participation at the Internet Governance Forum, but also through other Internet governance processes. And one way, indeed, is, well, one idea how to implement that is the sounding board. But speaking about the IGF, it's a renewal of the mandate would be awesome, but maybe we can even, dream a bit more and not only have a new rule for 5 years, but maybe a long-term renewal. And of course, I mean, that's always the topic when we talk about the IGF is the financial foundation of the IGF. We have some, I mean, we did some good efforts in the last year. The leadership panel helped a lot in raising funds, and I think we can build on that. And I think the voluntary funding is a good. I think it's actually an asset of the IGF that, and we see that in the current budget crisis, that is actually an advantage of the IGF, that is voluntary funding. And I think we should keep voluntary funding, but we might also discuss if like a part of the funding can be integrated in the UN budget. We are at least open-minded to have this discussion, and we are also happy to receive ideas on this. Then, I mean, it's not only about money, but it's also about people and ideas. And here, one thing which is in our internal analysis about the IGF and the multi-stakeholder system is that we would like to have a stronger voice of the IGF in other multilateral, but also in other multi-stakeholder fora. And we think that one idea the EU will promote during the Business Forum is to strengthen the IGF Secretariat, in particular through appointment of a director position. So this existed in the past, but was then kind of forgotten because of budgetary constraints. But we think that could really strengthen the IGF and could create, a better leadership, and could be, it would be easier for other UN agencies also to integrate in exchange with the IGF Secretariat and so on. So these are priorities. Other priorities, of course, is for the visits is the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. We think that we could strengthen the role in the visits process, since human rights issues and human-centric design of technologies will become more and more important with new topics rising up, and the EU will definitely advocate for that. And and then the visits is not only about content, but it's very much also about the process itself. And I mean, we have the sounding board now, but we will also advocate for strong and meaningful multi-stakeholder participation through the whole process to the very end. And I think that will be also a top priority for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for those very insightful comments. And actually, the common position of EU is always making a lot of impact on the negotiation, in particular between the groups of countries. And I think the Euro strategy will be very important for other like-minded partners. So now we have heard from two governments, and now I would like to invite the Gitanjali online to ask about a kind of perspective of international organization. So Gitanjali, floor is yours.
Thank you, Yoichi-san. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Good afternoon, and apologies for not being there in person. I will be joining IGF on the 25th. We have our ITU Council ongoing, so we have been quite busy here. So, of course, WISIS, like we heard before from Philip and William, is really digital cooperation in action. Currently, we work with more than 50 UN entities. If you would like a UN perspective, it's really one UN in action looking at digital cooperation issues. And each one of us, based on our respective mandates, implement or co-implement different WISIS action lines. For example, ITU leads the facilitation of infrastructure, cybersecurity, capacity building, and enabling environment. Similarly, WHO for e-health, ILO for e-employment, and you'll see this beauty of the framework in the WISIS plus 20 action line assessments that the WISIS action line facilitators have made, and it's available online on the WISIS forum page as well as the WISIS plus 20 review page. This is a valuable piece of document because it highlights the emerging trends, challenges from the perspective of the UN agencies facilitating these action lines. We have taken this process, of course, very seriously, especially the key UN agencies involved. We launched a joint preparatory process in September, September 2022, actually, where we started designing a roadmap. So ITU Secretary General has a WISIS plus 20 roadmap that we present to our membership. UNESCO has their WISIS plus 20 roadmap that they will present to their governing body, and so does the CSTD. This preparatory process, of course, we had the annual session of the UN CSTD where the ECOSOC resolution, draft ECOSOC resolution was approved by member states. We had the UNESCO conference, and we will soon have the ITU and other UN agencies WISIS forum, and of course IGF with UN UNCTAD right now. So we saw the commitment of ITU's membership during the ITU Council, which is ongoing right now. We presented the WISIS documents where they actually showed the commitment towards the not only in what we've achieved in the 20 years, but also the future of the WISIS process. William, congratulations for the Australian paper, and Switzerland also has a non-paper on WISIS plus 20, very good documents. And the WISIS COFAX came up with the Elements paper, also appreciate that. But of course, we will be providing our feedback also in the sense that important multi-stakeholder platform like WISIS Forum is missing from the paper. So we will be providing our feedback on it as well. In terms of the priorities, Yuichi-san will look at, of course, digital inclusivity, bridging the digital divides. It's really unacceptable that 38% of the African population only has access to the internet. Gender disparities remain with 189 million more men online than women globally. Rural populations are, of course, disappropriately affected as well. And capacity building, skills training. With the evolution of technology, we really have to ensure that digital skills and capacity building tools and knowledge are in place for people. Of course, for our priorities, the multi-stakeholder framework, it remains one of the key successes of WISIS, where we have been working together to address the complexities of the digital world. As part of the WISIS plus 20 review, it's also essential to highlight and strengthen the role of the Internet Governance Forum for Global Digital Governance, WISIS Forum for grassroots development. Both have been essential in crystallizing dialogue and developing concrete outcomes. The WISIS stock-taking database, which has more than 2 million subscribers and 15,000 entries, really remains a vital tool for capturing real digital impact. And these are the WISIS regional and national initiatives which have been inputted by the stakeholders on their own. Every year we have a call for action to update the projects. And the WISIS prizes, we had a record number of submissions this year, 972, with an increased global engagement of 2.2 million votes. So this really shows the real enthusiasm and the commitment that the stakeholders have towards all of these processes. Of course, we would like to say, Yuichi-san, that the WSIS framework has evolved with the evolution of technology because the action lines have provided a great framework. With respect to the GDC, we look at it as a booster to the WSIS process. And the UNGIS group, the United Nations group, came up with a matrix that maps the GDC objectives with the WSIS action lines and the WSIS process in general. And it really shows that we are already implementing the objectives of GDC, and we stand ready, as the CSTD COSOC resolution mentioned, that the WSIS architecture stands ready to implement the GDC objectives. I'll end by saying that WSIS has focused on building adaptive governance processes and can keep pace with rapid evolution of technology. And we need to ensure that we have a very dynamic process so that we can evolve and meet the challenges and opportunities presented by new technologies. Back to you, Hyuichi-san.
Okay, thank you very much, Gitanjali-san, for the very insightful comment, and also the UN negotiation and discussion process is always complicated, and even for us government officials, and your formulation and organization of the different elements and the existing resources is quite useful for us. So thank you very much, and we fully agree to the point that made by Gitanjali and also Philip, and the inclusivity and the meaningful participation of stakeholders is critically important, in particular when we look back at the process of GDC negotiation last year. So now I would like to invite Marit, Miss Marit Paravieta, for your priorities from the business perspective.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the kind invitation to be part of this panel today. So my name is Marit Paravieta. I'm the Deputy Director General at Connect Europe. And for those who don't know us, so we're a Brussels-based trade association, and we represent the European telecom operators. So our members invest a lot in networks in Europe, but also beyond. And the total investment represents about 70% of the European telecom investment. So quite a large part of the telecom market. And we have traditionally, for years, been a firm supporter of the multi-stakeholder model. And we recently also updated our positioning a little bit and published a position paper to explain what does this mean to a private sector, but also specifically to telecom operators. And so you might ask, what is the benefit of the multi-stakeholder model for us specifically, and also of the IGF? So I think that to give you an answer, so first of all, I think our members, they drive really the digital transformation, not only of the European continent, but also beyond. So some of our largest members are present in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, and of course, providing connectivity services. And connectivity services are today running on open and global IP protocols. And the whole this technical foundation that is still very solid and firm is very important for operators to be able to provide these interoperable and connectivity services. And of course, this process is firmly backed up by the multi-stakeholder model and has been so for quite some time. So that's a very clear benefit for us. The second benefit is more than in the area of policy, and specifically the IGF. So we believe that the IGF and in general the internet governance sphere is very important for aligning common principles for different policy issues. And for us, this is really more about policy shaping than about policy making. So, of course, laws are made, in our case, in Europe, but this global forum really allows us to exchange with different stakeholders and also to understand and learn what's going on in the world. And in many ways, I think one of the benefits of the IGF is that it's so inclusive and open that for a private sector representative like ourselves, we come here much easier than we would perhaps go to I don't know, some of the formalized meetings at the ITU or the OECD. And just for your information, we are a sector member of the ITU as well, and also part of the OECD BIAC. But in terms of time spent and resources, the IGF seems to be an easier forum for us to engage. And just for the priorities on the WSIS plus 20, so this is of course something that governments are hands-on negotiating, but we are very firmly calling for the continuation of the IGF mandate, and very much for the reasons that I just mentioned. We believe that this is truly an invaluable forum to promote the multi-stakeholder engagement and to discuss the different policy issues. And then in which shape or form, we know very well that there's issue with budgeting, that also the let's say the stability or the exact form and shape is still under discussion. So we are exchanging on these and liaising at the regional level with our policymakers, and also then hoping to have our voice heard in the discussions, which we of course cannot really attend, and also due to resourcing issues, it is challenging. On the GDC priority, it is very important for us that the implementation will be, of course, a success. And we would be also supportive of including the multi-stakeholder approach or different stakeholders in the implementation phase. And I think, for example, for our sector, so we have meaningful connectivity as part of the GDC framing. And of course, it is very important for us to understand then how will this be measured, and what are we, at the end, expected to do, because the implementation will happen as a partnership between governments and private sector, also, of course, of the not-for-profit in some cases. So again, there, the multi-stakeholder aspect is very important. I would also agree, I think it was William who mentioned that when we talk about the implementation, it's not only about the coverage, it's also about the usage. So looking at this whole, what is meaningful connectivity, and taking a kind of ecosystemic point of view. Because also in Europe, we see very well that today we have more coverage than we actually have uptake of the services. So maybe those are my introductory remarks on this important topic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Marit, for the comment, and I cannot agree more to the point that IGF is so unique place where the different stakeholders meet each other on equal basis. And actually, this is a very, very important venue for the government officials to learn how we can work in multi-stakeholder approach together with other stakeholders. So thank you very much for the comment. And now I would like to invite the youth representative, Mr. Murilo Salvador.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm Murilo. I'm here representing the Swiss Youth IGF, but also the global the Global Youth IGF, which is a network of the youth IGFs in more than 40 countries. And we, of course, have been organizing national, regional events. We have been developing capacity building programs and policy consultations to represent this youth voice that, as you said, is extremely important. Because youth brings fresh perspective. The youth are digital natives, so they have this know-how sometimes that we want to make explicit and to inform the policy making in a way that gives equity to the different voices and that includes the different diverse perspectives in terms of backgrounds and countries, of course. So at the Youth IGF, we believe that youth inclusion is not just optional, it is essential. And if we focus, of course, on the future role of the IGF, we, from our experience, can propose 4 priorities, which are not just principles for us, but should be ideally targets, measurable targets towards youth-led accountability mechanism for these 4 principles. So our first principle, of course, already been mentioned, digital inclusion. It is crucial to ensure that we have affordable, reliable, secure access of the internet for all, especially in underserved regions. And here we can, of course, cross this notion with the global majority and youth in the global majority. Digital skills and literacy, that's our first principle. Second principle, my apologies, and here we highlight the competencies to meaningfully engage online, so not only have access, but also have the capacity to meaningfully engage in the digital economy, to understand technology from a critical point of view, so as to develop that digital citizenship, which is essential looking forward into the future. A third principle I'd like to highlight here concerns safety and mental health, a huge issue now, of course, increasingly important now. So addressing the harms that are caused by mental health, addressing the disinformation online, and developing this holistic idea of digital well-being is crucial for an organization like the IGF, thinking into the future. And fourth principle that I want to put forward here is the participation in the governance, or that's the final step. So ensuring that these formal mechanisms to contribute and to co-create the policies that, of course, being here myself is part of that, but it's much broader than that, and that's our first priority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to all five speakers for your very, very insightful and also the forward-looking comment and the also the very strategic priorities. So having heard from all of you about your priorities and the targets in the process coming, such as WSIS review and also GDC follow-up, how do you think those priorities and the targets can be achieved, and what is your strategy? What would you recommend to governments who work in the negotiations, and also what do you recommend to maybe DESA or UN people on how to ensure the meaningful participation in the process? So first, on this question, let me invite Gitanjali online for your opinions on the proposals or recommendations on how to achieve those priorities.
Thank you, Yoichi-san. So, of course, from our side, from the UN perspective, the follow-up will require a coordinated, inclusive, and action-oriented strategy. And really, from what we hear from all stakeholders is that we should have a lot of ambition to ensure that all those priorities can be achieved. So our approach is anchored in the WSIS legacy, which puts people at the center of digital transformation, promotes multi-stakeholder cooperation, and builds agile governance for the future. We do know that we have to be agile to be able to evolve with the change in technologies. So we will deepen our coordination through the United Nations Group on Information Societies, ensuring that there is no duplication and that we are working in sync based on each other's mandates and priorities to ensure that we have a UN system-wide digital and all these actions are aligned and they're complementary. We do know that there are a lot of restrictions in, of course, resources right now. So we have to be sure that we don't duplicate and then we complement each other. Of course, from our side as UN agencies, we really feel that we need to continue to build on the platforms of the Internet Governance Forum and the WSIS Forum to ensure that they're able to provide wider consultations. So we have these open consultation processes that where we are able to gather views and inputs of all stakeholders so that we can build these the programs, the agendas, and really to shape policy, as one of the speakers mentioned before me as well. And also representation of the grassroots and the unrepresented stakeholders or underrepresented stakeholders. So really the importance of these platforms to be able to provide all these inputs from different communities. then digital transformation really must work for everyone. So to be able to to prioritize digital skills and capacity building, we need to highlight the action line on capacity building. So ITU is currently leading the facilitation of it with UNDP and with many other UN agencies, especially UNESCO, UNITAR, and so on and so forth. Also promoting local ownership, and having like tailored local solutions. Capacity building program is really important for the success of any process like this as well. Some of you did mention, for us it's really important that we also have measurable impact. Currently, the WSIS action lines do not have any targets and indicators. So it's really difficult for us as UN action line facilitators to be able to give quantitative measurements and figures for what we've achieved for the action lines. So we can of course use qualitative indicators, but quantitative are very few. The targets set in the WSIS outcome documents were really like overarching targets, like how many schools are connected, how many hospitals are connected, and so on and so forth, but really not concrete on how the action lines can be measured. We will leverage the WSIS Plus 20 review also to propose approaches that are really flexible and adaptive, also especially in the face of AI, big data, immersive technologies. Of course, ethical frameworks, they really remain very important to UN agencies. And I did mention before, but complementing, of course, a complementary framework for WSIS and the GDC, avoid duplication and maximizing our synergies. The UN bodies that are involved in the WSIS implementation are already working on it, and we think that we will be able to offer a tested and an inclusive implementation model to deliver on the GDC commitment. So in summary, Yoichi-san, build on the 20 years of WSIS success, strengthen the multi-stakeholder partnerships and collaborations, mobilize digital cooperation across all levels, the UN at the national, regional, and international level as well. Of course, regional commissions, we work very closely with them, and to ensure that digital transformation advances equality and the internationally agreed development goals. Back to you, Yuichi-san.
Okay, Gitanjali-san, thank you very much for the very concrete proposals and the comments and strategic viewpoints. In particular, the coordination inside UN would be very important, and that is one of the stressed points in the GDC negotiation last year. And also measurable indicators would be very important, and that is something before us to do in the coming month. So having listened to these points and the also representation would be very important, in particular from the communities in the little bit less strong position. From that point of view, I would like to invite again Murilo. On your opinion, how do you think your priorities can be achieved, and what do you think the major roles of the youth community, and how do you think you can materialize your priorities, or how other communities or governments or other generations can help youth community take your role?
Thank you for the great question. I'll try to be concise. So a lot of this we're already doing, and this goes in the spirit of the GDC that refers to the WSIS outcomes as a foundation on which to build, and the youth IGF is already providing a good foundation that should be further supported, I think. So we have 3 points to answer your question. One is working on youth capacity, the second is working on youth voice and decision making, and the third is promoting that intergenerational collaboration that you mentioned too. So just to elaborate on each point very quickly. The first point, youth community roles here are important. So our youth community, the youth IGF in each national chapter, we are already mobilizing and educating and organizing the youth, already co-developing these policy recommendations and bringing them here, and then translating back the outcomes to these to the local peers. So this is a work that we are already doing, and we ask of continuous support as we think of the future. Second point, of course, thinking about youth voice and enabling that voice, everything goes back to funding. So funding the youth, funding us, being here, of course, being able to speak here, but also more broadly our activities. If we think about moving from guaranteeing access to enabling meaningful participation, as we have already mentioned, to a final, let's say, ambition of having a co-ownership sort of ideal for youth in this global arenas. Now, the third point, as I mentioned, intergenerational collaboration is essential. Here, mentorship, of course, providing these mentorship opportunities is something that we call for. Resource sharing from other communities to the youth communities, that's essential too. As I mentioned, we have this financing. And then thinking about not just including us, but also being our allies and not just speaking for us, but opening the doors for us and letting us speak for ourselves, because as I mentioned, we already do this work of gathering input and formulating recommendations. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very future-looking comment, and also these are very important role of youth community, and we are discussing for the future of internet, and the future of internet will be owned by the youth generation. So that is very important. And they talked about some support from other communities and also co-ownership. So having listened to these points, and what is your view, Marit, from a business perspective? How do you think you can achieve your priorities, and also how do you think you can business community can help other communities?
Yes, so thank you very much. On the goals of WSIS, I'm just, I think I very much agreed with what also Jitan Jali just said about not duplicating and being simple. So when we think about our participation, but I'm also thinking other communities, non-governmental communities, I think simplicity is key. It's key in terms of the alignment of the different global policy processes. So we have the SDGs now, we have the WSIS Plus 20, we have GDC. It's a lot of processes that are in one way or another overlapping and let's say perhaps complementary as well. But I think if you want to encourage participation from private sector, it would be good that all these different goals and implementation processes would be in one way or another aligned. So, simplicity is key. And I think the same goes also for different governance processes. So there has been and was a discussion about, for example, AI governance. So there's a lot of expert bodies and processes. We have the same in Europe at the regional level as well. So again, it becomes then very complex for stakeholders like ourselves to dedicate time and resources to meaningfully contribute. So I think avoiding duplication and simplicity, that would be really my number one. I also like the point I think Philip made it on reinforcing the regional, or the link between the regional initiatives and the global ones. So we, for example, we very much work with the European Internet Governance Forum as well, the EuroDig. And I think that, for many communities who maybe even have less resources than ourselves, they could use this regional event as a first kind of a base to go and discuss and exchange. And then there is a mechanism, if there was somehow a clearer link also to bring these messages to the global forum, then that could also be very effective from our point of view. And I think lastly, and it was already mentioned, and I also mentioned it myself, so I think more stability at the IGF level, that would, remove a lot of distraction. So now every 5 years we're discussing the process a lot, simply because there's a renewal of the mandate. So I think that some level of permanence and funding would really help us also then focus on the key policy issues at hand and really focus on the substance and these important issues that we all need to exchange on. So I think those would be my 3 messages. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We fully agree to this point, in particular, the simplicity or streamlining the discussions, and so many emerging topics and policy items which we have to tackle for our policy for the future. So, having listened to those views from different communities, I would like to ask a government perspective from 2 speakers. So, first, I would like to invite probably Philip on your priorities and the understanding on how to achieve those priorities.
Thank you. Just before to react on some of the points mentioned, first of all, I actually think one of the main benefits is the engagement at the IGF, and I would say it's even for government easier to engage at the IGF level, and I think that's a huge benefit, and that's also why we come here and present our strategies and our priorities, because here we actually get the input to make them better and to make them fit for the system and for the stakeholders. So, and then on the second point, when we talk about the IGF, we always we need more funding and we need to extend. But actually, and that's all true, yeah, but actually it works also pretty well, yeah. And so the Secretariat is doing an amazing job. UNDSA is really committed. And so we have this amazing conference. We had last year an amazing conference in Kyoto that was a major success. So we have huge events which are always complicated to organize, but they are successful. People come there, there are 8,000 people, they have a good time, they have a great conference, and I think we should value that and we should communicate that maybe better. Yeah, so this is really a conference. If you want to discuss digital policy on an international or global level, there's no other conference such as the IGF, and you really have to come here, yeah, to discuss and to meet the people. And I think that's a great value, and maybe we should be a bit better and communicate it. So coming back to our priorities, I mean, I mentioned there's always the money question. We're supporting the IGF, but we're also supporting other organizations. But then it's not only about money; it's also about people and ideas. So what we did in Germany is so we thought, okay, what can we do, and what's really low key, kind of easy thing to support the community. And we established a fellowship, International Digital Policy, for young adults from 18 to 30 years. And we support them to come to the IGF, but also to other international and multilateral conferences, such as the AI Summit or at the AI Action Summit, but also the CSTD. So we have 16 young people who are really eager to learn about the community, and we help them to get engaged in the community. So we introduce them to people they might want to talk to. We pay the travel cost, but also we explain what's going on, how is the IGF, why should be engaged. And I think that's compared to other government programs, little money with a huge impact. And it really can help the community, because these people now know how it goes, know the multi-stakeholder approach, know how the IGF was established, how the IGF works, how the community thinks. And now they can find their own way into the community, which is, even it's very inclusive, is sometimes a bit, difficult to approach the people who work in WSIS for 20 years, who are really experienced, and you come in as a newcomer. I mean, you might experience that better, but it's sometimes a bit. Even when I started in my position, I was a bit shy and didn't know all the ideas before, and so I think that's really helpful, and that can help not only the not only the national IGF, but also the regional IGF, and also the global IGF in the end. And I will stop here since we have only 4 minutes left.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you very much for mentioning Kyoto IGF. Actually, we learned a lot from Berlin IGF when we formulate the Kyoto IGF. So sorry for the management of time, but last question: what is your strategy to achieve your priorities?
Thanks very much. Look, I'll be very brief. I think what we are doing is building a bridge to cross those digital divides. The IGF is a core component of that through the WSIS. Firstly, digital is complex. There are many, many different issues at the moment, and there are many, many experts who are really across different parts of that digital landscape. Second, I think as governments, we need practical solutions. We are looking at problems, all of these problems together, and looking towards the global community to show us how we can solve them. So if you have a practical idea, something that you would like the global community to consider, then that is something that we as governments want to hear. Thirdly, I think it's really important to be bold and to be positive in what we're thinking. The IGF is a testament to the positivity over the last 20 years and its enduring nature, regardless of what is happening outside of this conference venue, is its success. And I think for it to continue to be a success, we need to continue to look at bold and positive ideas for the future. And then finally, we often talk about stakeholder groups in isolation. We talk about governments, civil society, technical community, business community, academia, youth. I actually think the IGF's enduring value is its ability to bring all of those groups together and have conversations like this that cut across those stakeholder groups. And so I would only encourage those conversations to continue as we go forward for the next 6 months, to continue to show the value that the IGF will bring. I said at the beginning that we're building a bridge, and the hardest part about building a bridge is the moment before you connect the two parts, where both parts are teetering on the edge and there may be a storm or something come along and knock them out. But the second you join them, it's a really, really strong and enduring structure. And I would really encourage everyone to think about how we join those bridges together over the course of the next coming months and years. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the story. And so I understood, the storm of WSIS Plus 20 review is coming, and our work to bridge, making the bridge has to be done, and that in the end, the IGF will be even stronger. And the important thing is to continue our work without stopping, and also learning each other. So I think time is running out, but I just want to take one question from the floor. If you you have any question to one or two or even more of the speakers. Do you have any questions? Is there any question online? Okay, I think the discussion was so clear that nobody has question anymore. That makes us very happy, and thank you very much for the very active discussion. And actually, I myself learned quite a lot from the discussion from the speakers. And one of the most important learnings here is continue our work all together and keep learning from each other. And until not the end, but also connect the bridge the complete, and then we will have even more robust IGF beyond the WSIS Plus 20 review. So thank you very much for the discussion, and thank you very much for joining us to everybody on site and online. I hope this will be some helpful learning for everybody. And one of the things we learned here is let's keep in contact and working together and go beyond WSIS plus 20 review. So thank you very much, and the session is concluded.